And now we have Chip Rump, who is with the National Restaurant Association. And Chip is going to kind of carry on this conversation, I think bring it a little bit more focused on our industry, as well as help us talk through some potential solutions to all of these very, very big challenges we're all facing. Chip?
Thank you, Cindy. Appreciate it. And that was a lot of great information by Nate, and definitely will you're going to see some overlap there, because as he talks about the full industry, and now we kind of dial in a little bit with regards to our current industry. The National Restaurant Association has done a lot of surveys and work to provide information there. But I'm going to take a brief moment here. I know most of you know me, but if you don't, my name is Chip Rump. I'm with the National Restaurant Association. Been with them for just over 6 years now in their workforce and business services department, where we support our industry with training and certification and how we can, of course, with different programs from that point. And prior to that, I was in the industry for 25 years, working in training and ops services roles in a wide variety of quick service and family dining national companies. So excited to be here. Chart's near and dear to my heart, and so again, I appreciate the opportunity to spend some time with each of you here during the Chicago RTF. So with that said, we're gonna speak to some of those trends, as you see here, challenges, and talk about some of the solutions that we're hearing from the operators out there. Some that you may be doing, some that you may not be doing, or some you may be doing part of, and then wow, this is a great way to enhance it. As we all know, we have the different labor shortages out there. We want to make sure that we're both hiring and retaining those individuals that are working with us. So with that said, as I kind of move forward here, we're going to let's see our top operators' challenges for the previous 3 years. So in January of 2018, recruiting employees 37%, labor cost minimum wage, you can see here at 18, and sales volume 16. So that's 2018. Then we moved to 2019, recruiting still 40%, labor costs 12, and sales volume 10. And so these surveys at the National Restaurant Association continue each year. And then January 2020, recruiting's jumping up to 49, labor costs 13, and competition speaks in there at 13. And I think the interesting thing to think about this is, here we are saying recruiting employees at 49%, January 2020. That's pre-pandemic. It's still, and it always has been, such a hot topic for us in this industry of how do we, attract and retain those individuals that can help us succeed in our business. And so, of course, everything's changed now with the pandemic. It's more challenging. We are a resilient profession. And of course, I know many of you have had many successful things to offset that. But again, this kind of just sets the pre-pandemic mode of where we've been. Now, the current state of the industry, when you look at it, kind of have three different buckets here. We have food prices, let's talk about, right? The average wholesale food price in September of 2021 continues to advance, and we're now running a hefty 6.3% rate on year-to-date basis. So this is the highest food sale price inflation rate since 2011, right? I mean, increased, produce price index for all foods, which represents a change price paid for domestic, increased to lower 1.3. So all the foods 1.3, 6.3 when it comes to the wholesale food price industry. Then you look at menu prices here. Menu prices in September of 2021, they're up a hefty 4.2% on a year-to-date basis and are posting their highest growth rate since 2008, according to the association's economics analysis through the statistics of the Bureau of Labor. In comparison, grocery prices are up a lower 2.6. So here we are, 4.2 up in the menu prices, whereas grocery stores 2.6 up in September of 2021. And then we look at labor. Restaurants continue to have difficulty boosting staff levels in September as job growth slowly, significantly from recent months. After seeing an average monthly gains of nearly 200,000 jobs during the first 7 months of 2021, restaurant employment's leveled off in August and September. And as a result, eating and drinking places remained more than 900,000 jobs below pre-pandemic level. 49 states, as you can see here, saw restaurant employment levels decline between August and September. So we all know, we've been there. We're working hard as we build and grow, but just wanted to share some of those current state of the industry of where we are. And we look here now at, same source sales. A solid majority of restaurant operators continue to report positive same sales store compared to their early pre-pandemic. 76% of those restaurant operators said that the same sales stores rose between September of 2020 and September of 21, while 11% reported decline. So it's exciting to see that those sales are growing as we build here. The 2-year comparison remains mixed, 51%, as you can see here. So that's from a 2-year level from 2019. 51% of operators are saying their September 2021 sales are up from September of 2019. Okay, so that's again mixed, but we're seeing some positive growth there in the 2-year sales. As we move to customer traffic, restaurant operators are also continuing to report positive traffic readings in September. Okay, 70% of restaurant operators say that their customer traffic in September was higher than 2020. Okay, we know we were in the pandemic. So you can kind of see as you're looking at this chart here where that higher traffic is compared to the lower. And again, I will send this PDF slideshow to Cindy so we can make sure you have it so that you can have these slides and this data as you continue to chat with your teams and kind of show the current status of where we are in the industry. Going to move over here, and although the industry added back many jobs lost during early months of the pandemic, a majority of the restaurants remain understaffed. Restaurants continue to have difficulties boosting those staffing levels in September. And as job rose slowly, significantly from recent months, eating and drinking places added a net 29,000 in September on a seasonal adjusted basis, according to preliminary data. So as we talked about, you see there, the first 7 months averaging around 200,000. These last 2 months, though, netted out around 29. So again, I'm seeing a slowdown here in August and September. Now, as we look at, nearly 4 in 5 restaurants are understaffed. We reached out, and we surveyed over 4,000 operators. The restaurants currently do not have enough employees. And as you can see here, 39% in the bottom left-hand corner of all restaurants are more than 20% below their staffing levels. So in September of 2021, 78% of operators said that their restaurants do not have enough employees to support existing customers. A solid majority of both full service operators, 81%, and limited service operators, 75%, said their restaurants did not have enough. So, you can kind of look here. Do you fall in this limited service? You can see here that full service, a little bit higher in that sense as they move forward. So among restaurants that were understaffed in September, 82% of those operators said their restaurants were more than 10% below necessary staffing. 39% understaffed operators were more than 20% below necessary staffing levels, and 37% understaffed full service operators. So it's a great chart that kind of just gives you a snapshot of where restaurants are when it comes to being understaffed. And of course, when you're understaffed, how can you currently, combat that? And so the survey continued with those 4,000 operators and said, what are you doing? As a result of being understaffed, what is happening? And so 68% of those operators say their restaurant reduced hours of operations on days it was open. 46% of operators cut back on menu items, while 45% say they reduced seating capacity as a result. And you can also see here that 45% closed on days that it would normally not be open. So your concepts may be, fall in this. This kind of gives you a snapshot of what our industry has done to react with the shortages. So there are now significantly more job openings and far less workers, which Nate spoke to that, not just in the hospitality sector, but in the entire job market that's out there. And most industries have openings now that they did, more openings now than they did, of course, before the pre-pandemic. So there are approximately 70% more jobs, as you can see here, than pre-pandemic levels, and 10% fewer people looking for them. And what does this mean from a dollar standpoint? Well, as we think about chart and black box and all the analysis they've done, think about, again, $1,700, the cost of turnover for non-management employee. So if somebody leaves, turns over, you're spending $1,700 for that non-management employee. $7,000 for a manager and $7,500 for a general manager. So it's consistently shown that employee turnover has a direct correlation on sales performance. Both manager and hourly employee turnover rates were at record high pre-pandemic, with anticipation of these levels next. So again, you talk about the turnover rates in our industry, you talk about looking for jobs. These are the dollars that, of course, are associated that you guys are seeing on a day-to-day basis. So what's keeping workers from returning? We just heard some of this from Nate, but such as wages and benefits, childcare opportunities, other industries, concerns about mental and physical health. He talked about, of course, making sure in your job descriptions to talk about how safe your organization is. But work culture matters, and the tolerance of emotional abuse, harassment has ended. So workers need that safety in there. Workers need the scheduling we're hearing to consistency. So again, you can kind of see here on this chart all those different pieces that really are keeping workers from returning to the industry, that we need to make sure that we're focused on as we're looking to hire them and looking to retain them. So the workforce is a brand shopping. And Nate talked about that brand piece, that page that they landed on is up 254% of somebody coming and understanding a little bit more about the company that they're talking about and what is that brand. And where we're finding the industry moving towards is from that brand standpoint, that we need to make sure that we're very people-centric. And that's not just customer, but that's team members and employees, right? We need to be people-centric. And so when we ask, what does that mean? What we find out is to think about how your people want to work and what inspires and motivates them to work. And again, that goes hand in hand with what Nate was talking about. As you're building those online recruiting ads, how do people want to work and what inspires and motivates them to work are so key. Leaders need to, separate their drivers from that of the people. If you want to attract and keep those workers, again, making sure it's people-centric. And here's some examples. Again, these are some examples of some recruiting web pages, and yours may look similar. Yours may have bits and pieces, but again, it kind of speaks to that people matter here. As you look at the one from Raising Cane's up there, becoming a chef, all the different people, our culture, your family, from Cousins. As you look at that, you can see that, again, this illustrates, that people-centric focus, so that when they go in there, they're going to that homepage, whatever your landing page is from a recruiting standpoint, that they're understanding what those pieces, and it brings it to life. Now, attracting that talent, there's that social media and online presence. So here are a couple highlights, right? Highlight what makes your company a desired place to work, right? But be consistent across all your messaging. So on your online pieces, be consistent. When they walk into your restaurant, they should still feel that same thing. It should be consistent from an understanding of what the brand is. Have strong, clear, consistent messages that demonstrate that consistent commitment to people. And pay attention to what the younger generation. I mean, look to the right here for TikTok to starting a job site targeting to Gen Z. So again, how can you engage folks out there with what they're looking for so that it becomes that place they want to work, that they understand that importance that you're putting towards the people-centric culture. And you have to do from a compensation standpoint, you know, what are you doing right now? Again, it goes hand in hand with what Nate was speaking to of what are those compensations. A question I have for this group here, and you can answer it on the chat. So I've listed 6 of them here: interviewing cash bonus, retention bonus, discounts and perks, cash bonus if hired, free meals, and family benefits. You know, so that's 6. What I'd love to in the chat, type the number, like if you do 4 of those, type 4. If you do 1 of those, type 1. Just want to get an idea from that standpoint. Are those individuals on this call, are you seeing that ability? This is what we're hearing's out there, right? That free meal at an interview, those different pieces. Again, $1,700 from a retaining standpoint. 1, 2, exactly. So if you know, if you gave somebody, and again, this is just an example, you know, $100 retention bonus every month, that would be $1,200. Well, it costs $1,700 to train someone new. So again, how can you become creative? People are like, oh, I'm not going to do a retention bonus, or I'll do it quarterly, or, you know, so what are those they're looking for? So again, are you doing it? 2, 2, 2, perfect. Exactly. So build on those as you're going forward, and kind of think outside the box there of what could we do from that point to have that response. You know, we're in a wage war. It already exists. Make sure what you are offering is competitive enough. Okay. Again, I'll piggyback on what Nate said. Doesn't necessarily mean to be the base wage, but can be other factors and other ways in which one can understand how to help support from a compensation or from a benefit standpoint. And you can see here the challenges facing the industry. This is, you know, it's kind of that 3-legged stool, right? Good talent is hard to find and even harder to keep. The perception of the industry has been battered by the pandemic, and it's difficult to run a business in context of evoking tasks, technology, and meeting guest needs. So again, all 3 of these things are kind of pulling at each other as we go and find those individuals. And so what tools can we have out there? What retention tools can you find? What branding can, you know, that we're finding, putting out there on the website to have that consistent message? Now, Nate spoke about engagement of when you're looking for a job. How are people engaged? Are they excited to look for a job? Is it just passing? How urgent are they from that point? Well, I want to take a moment in this to say, once you're in the door, why is that engagement so important to keep them engaged internally, right? You know, why is it important? Engaging those workers so they have the key to retain them, right? Now that you found them and got them in the door, or you have current team members that you know that are there, taking that step back and understanding that engagement. It's such a key piece that we're hearing as we reach out to our operators out there and hearing ways in which solve to be proactive and understand those individuals that are on our clock right now. What can we do to keep them engaged? So Gallup did a poll, and they're a leader in research engagement. And they went out there and researched and said, what % of workers are actually engaged? And when I'm saying engaged, I'm saying highly involved, enthusiastic, committed to their work. And I'd be curious again in the chat, what percentage do you think Gallup found that team members are highly engaged? Again, defined as involved, enthusiastic, and committed to their work. Take a second here and let you think about it and plug in what numbers do you think? 15, okay. 25, 30, 8. 20, 35. Well, I'm going to click right now because nicely done, Andrew. 35 is what Gallup found are engaged. Those individuals that again, are highly motivated, enthusiastic about it. Now, I'll go to the next one. Not engaged. Okay. Now, this is, they show up, they contribute minimal. Okay. They put in the time, but not the energy or passion. Right. And that number is 52%. So Gallup found that 52% of individuals are not engaged. Well, of course, Chip, you would tell me 52 and 35 does not equal to 100. So what does that mean? Well, that means there's actually a third group. And that third group is actively disengaged. And that's 13% is what Gallup said. They're spreading their unhappiness to their coworkers, lowering the morale, right? Pushing people from that engagement. So unfortunately, 65% of the workforce, according to Gallup, is either not engaged or actively disengaged. Okay. So that kind of gives just kind of a heads up. But one of the pieces that we found out that, people talk about it, but it's great to see some data on it, is listening. People are like, we just need to listen. Well, engagement is up 16% higher when feedback programs are in place. And feedback programs can be regularly listened. It doesn't mean you pass them in the, server well and say, how are you? And they say, fine. Okay. It doesn't always have to be a one-on-one. It could be a time of, hey, let's just sit down and chat, find out what's up, be engaged, be present with them, not put the phone on the table faced up from that point so that you wonder. But again, listening and listening regular really has a big impact on engaging. And so we challenge everyone to say, what is that mantra? Do you say it? Do you put it in place? Again, doesn't necessarily, are your managers engaged? Have you trained your manager to realize how important that is? Checking in with your employees on a weekly basis can have a big impact. Okay. Schedule time, even if it's just 5 minutes. Again, letting them have that understanding is just so key. And here's a great trick that, well, it's not really a trick, it's just a great process that we would toss out. And so I would ask you right now, and you don't have to tell me what they are. I'll just ask you to think about it right now. I want you right now to think of 2 adjectives that describe how you feel working at the place you work at. You're more than welcome to share them if you want, but I don't want to put any pressure on anybody. But again, in your mind, what are those 2 adjectives? If somebody said, if someone sat down with you in a booth and said, hey, tell me 2 adjectives that describe how you are. Happy, valued. Appreciate that, Angela. Thank you. Well, that's the cool thing about what you just saw there with Angela is they're both positive. And that's exciting because as a manager, you can say they thought, they're probably engaged. Their 2 adjectives are positive. However, some people might choose one positive and one negative. Let's see. I'm committed, yet I'm anxious, right? I'm good, but I'm stressed, right? Well, those individuals now are conflicted. And so what a great opportunity in that 5 minutes, 10 minutes that you're listening to not just build on the negative, but also build on the positive to tell me why you're happy. Tell me why you're valued. Or tell me why you're stressed. Okay, because we don't want that negative emotion to wear away, right? Until all of a sudden it becomes greater than, and then the next time you ask it, it becomes 2 negatives. And now all of a sudden they're become more in that not engaged and hopefully never in that, actively disengaged faction. But again, it's one of those things from, rather than just sitting saying, how you doing, right? That open-ended question when you sit down with them, this is a great little exercise. And it gets people thinking about, okay, how am I doing? I've got to pick 2 adjectives from that standpoint. All right. Does anybody do this? You can just give me a thumbs up or a yes or no, or, again, just a great way from that point that I highly recommend. It kind of helps tell you whether or not you have conflicted in, a conflict in an employee. And why is that, besides talking to the managers, I mentioned it before, making sure that we're training our managers on how to do that, right? 50% of workers have been emotionally abused at the work. So are we making sure that our managers and general managers, assistant managers, kitchen managers who, interact with those team members that they're working for, are being treated fairly and not feeling like they're being abused, right? 15% have been sexually harassed by coworkers or bosses, as you can see here. Because the data here in this chart shows that if you put in the time, you see your turnover reduce. 10% or more total training time is the darker blue column. So from a back of house team member standpoint, if 10% or more of the total training time is on these type of things, total training, you get 86%. If 10% or more of total training is less than 10%, sorry, from a back house, it's 111%. So you see that 25% swing down in those turnover rates. And for front of house, it's 29%. So again, making sure that total training time that you're doing with them, that you can train them on all of these different pieces, train them towards, making sure that they can look and see whether somebody's engaged, conflict, etc., will help you reduce your turnover and keep those individuals. Reducing that turnover then, of course, saves that, that dollar amount. If we were going to go back to the ROI piece, also creates that loyalty and that engagement as you move forward. All right, now moving on here, I'm going to say manager are vital in ensuring, people continue to see where they are now and in the best place. So again, there's different ways from engagement as we move forward. And you've heard some of these both earlier in mine as well as in Nate's, right? Improve the employee benefits, higher pay, work-life balance. You've heard that, from that point. Improved employee development plans is kind of what I want to speak to right now, because again, we're seeing what's in it for me. How is that benefit? Again, as Nate said, when you put 5, what what the expectations are, you need to put what 5 benefits are out there. And so improve those development plans. How can we help, secure that you're going to be valued and that you're going to grow in this position is such a key piece. All these factors are important, but let's just talk about the development plans for a second. What is working to increase retention, right? Here's an example from our friends at Black Box Intelligence and Chart, and their research demonstrates across all levels, right? So non-managers, the second most effective thing, improve growth and training. Managers, excluding GMs, the most effective is improved growth. Third, improved training. And for general managers, improved training is the second most. So again, you can see that's what is effective. That's what they're asking for from that point. And by doing that, you're going to help, again, build that engagement that we've talked about before and help that retention as it moves forward. Now, Gallup year over year highlighted employee development as one of the most critical. So again, Gallup always points that out. According to the Work Institute, 10 consecutive years, lack of development has been a key reason why it quits. And employees demonstrate a strong desire to be developed. According to the LinkedIn Workplace Learning Report, 93% of employees would stay at a company longer if it invested in their careers. And Gallup says 87% of millennials say training and development is crucial to the job, which goes back again to building that, help wanted ad as Nate talked to, but then also continuing that develop once they're on board with you. People-centric culture, making sure, how do we develop them, right? How can I see my impact on the business and its customers through my work? Giving that feedback, making them realize it's not just preparing a plate, it's preparing someone's meal, that's preparing a memory that they're going to leave here and understand. It might be, date night for a couple that left the kids at home. It might be a celebration, for something so awesome and exciting. It might be a family reunion, whatever that is. There's a moment in time that's being created at your facility, and having them understand that impact on that customer and what they do from that business is just so key to helping them create that people-centric culture. So again, in order to understand the importance of the role, understanding your path. At the National Restaurant Association, we have Serve Success, which speaks to that professional restaurant certification. It attracts workers, maintains highly performance teams. You can treat each role as a professional role, right? This is the restaurant industry operation management career pathway. It represents the key operational levels for most high demand positions across the industry. Okay, certified restaurant professional, certified restaurant supervisor, certified restaurant manager. So again, providing them those skills, showing them the pathway in which they can proceed as they move forward. You see some of these examples, right? I mean, here's an example from Cooper Hawks, which explains that pathway of all the different positions, the leadership positions, the management positions from that point. Working collaboratively with your marketing team to help provide that branding that we've talked about at the beginning and making sure. Here's another one from Habit Burger. Again, right? Kind of looks like that oven, kind of, puts it in the wheelhouse from that standpoint. Helps you relate, get fired up about your career, right? Get the sense of a grill. There's all the different knobs, but guess what? If you look at this, it helps you show on the left side, kind of a front of house path, on the right side, kind of a back of house path. So it's a great example, again, of making sure, as you're looking at those career paths, what you can do. Giving that structured progressive training, 71% love those stackable credentials. That ability to say, okay, I've succeeded in this, I've gotten something. What is my next stackable? Where is my next move as we move forward? 54% of the industry workers in frontline positions perceive credentials as valuable. So again, having that ability to say, when you come on board with us, we have these programs in place with Serve Success, for example, where you can go ahead and learn the industry as you move forward. Targeting those trainings, again, it's not just when they come on board, 30 days, 60, 90, first year, don't just stop the training once they go through the initial onboard and hiring, right? Continue to make sure. I touch on this just to make sure, I think this has been something that's always been said of making that evaluation, making sure from that point, it is still a top practice that not everybody does, right? It gets away with it. But if you're going to be people-centric, making sure you understand you have those spots along the way that, again, you're stopping and you're listening, whether it's your manager, maybe it's your district manager that's going to do the 60 to 90 sit down. So that way, again, they can kind of see that support and that growth as they move forward. Today, stay studies, they help uncover retention. We've talked about exit studies over the years and onboard studies, but taking the opportunity to do a stay study, somebody who is currently engaged, right? Somebody who is happy and valued, as Angela has said here, right? Let's take a moment and say, why? Why are you? Somebody who may have the two, a positive and negative. Let's do a stay study. Again, it can be done, within the restaurant with a manager. It can be done more on a global scale with HR. But again, making sure that those stay studies, because they really can help understand the risk, of losing engagement from that point. It demonstrates, exit interviews are very critical. So when unfortunately somebody does leave, were they leaving because they were actively disengaged? Were they even because they were not engaged and they found something? What are those pieces? What are those different clues? So making sure you're doing one of those three things, right? What we're looking for, we showed a screen, earlier. Again, higher wages, those benefit pieces, those development opportunities. This is what we're hearing. The flexible schedules, the consistencies. Again, how can we work flexible schedules? I will tell you, I saw a restaurant advertise 4 days off a week, full time, 3 12-hour shifts, right? That's creative. My wife's a nurse, so she's used to 3 12-hour full-time shifts. This restaurant is trying to say, listen, come work for us for 12 hours, 3 days, and you'll have full time. So again, being creative and understanding what your area, what somebody might need in that sense. The benefits here, and again, positive company culture as you move forward. Because I'll go back to Gallup here, who studied 82,000 teams, 1.8 million employees, 230 organizations. If you focus on that engagement, the top engagement elements, these are some of the stats that you can see. 20% higher in sales, 24% less in turnover, 70% fewer safety, 41% lower absentee, and 10% higher customer rating. I would think we'd all love those. And as we wind down here, I want to say, what do they do best? Some of those things on this list seem very simple, elementary. But Gallup's found that even a small percentage of employees strongly agree that their employees must deliver on these, right? Does my supervisor seem to care about me? Is there someone at work who encourages me? At work, my opinion seems to count. Again, understanding these are follow-up pieces. These are listening pieces from that point. These pieces help create that engagement as you're moving forward. So some leadership tips here. Again, you can take, you'll be able to have this when you get the PDF. Again, making sure we have open dialogue, demonstrate how roles clearly established, foster that safe environment, acknowledging achievements. Again, there is no crystal ball. You guys are probably doing some of these. You guys probably enhance some of these. Maybe you're not doing some of these. So again, throughout this entire, piece here, I know a lot has been thrown at you in this 35 minutes from, hiring, making sure the brand, engagement, stay studies, all those different pieces. But hopefully, again, you can find something in this that will really help focus and make you really think of how do I create that people-centric companies and make mine that people-centric from that point, because they're also empowered their team members to be the best they can be, which in turn promotes retention and even better customer experience. So I appreciate everyone's time today. Thank you. I'll answer questions, but again, I think a lot of this information, some you may know, some may be new, but I'll make sure again that I get this presentation to Cindy and the team so everybody here can have it. That's what I got, Cindy.
Thank you so much, Chip. Does anybody have any questions for Chip? Come on, you have to have some questions. There's so much good information. I think there's a lot to absorb there. I guess my perception was, I thought it was pretty telling, how much development and career advancement people are really looking for, that they really do appreciate that. And obviously this is the group to help make that come to fruition. So it's really good to see that we certainly have an impact or opportunity to impact what's happening out there in the industry.
Yeah, and again, hopefully some of these slides and data help prove how important that is, because I know we all face with hey, I need to understand and help our team members by doing this, and it might cost X amount, but you know what, if we can save X amount, then we're going to save our the turnover and the retention fees and stuff to that effect, so that you can then again proactively work with your leadership to hopefully instill these, because if you don't do it, then who knows what those expenses will be.
Absolutely. And I think that's, never has there been a clear case for that ROI discussion on, what it costs you to replace, because it costs even more than ever now to replace somebody with retention bonuses and all the recruiting efforts that have to go in place. I think the number I used to hear a lot was like $1,800 to replace an hourly employee, and it's got to be much, much higher right now with all of the extra efforts everybody's going through.